For years we've heard about Moses leading his people through the wilderness. For 40 years they lived in the desert. Well, we're in the desert. We're in the Negev desert of southern Israel, and it was around here, seriously, the Bible even identifies this particular area as where Moses sent out the spies to check out the promised land. Boy, you'd want to find the promised land if you were down here. But I've got a question. I mean, it's a question I've asked for years. How in the world did they survive? There's no water out here. I mean, this is a desert. It barely ever rains. So where did they get the water to live 12 months out of the year for 40 years in this environment? When you walk through the wilderness, you come across ravines like this. Now in Israel, we call this a wadi. It's a dry riverbed. You can see from the stone here that's so very smooth behind me, water runs along this wadi, this dry riverbed, when it rains, only when it rains. There is no natural river here. But when the water comes, it comes with a lot of volume, and over the years, over the centuries, it has made this stone very, very smooth. And you can see behind me, there are some green plants. So even in the desert, there are some plants who manage to find water. They've managed to adapt, and they're able to live all year long. Now the question would be, what does that have to do with Moses and the children of Israel, or anyone else in the Bible, or even anyone else today who found water and managed to live in this environment? Shepherds and farmers in ancient cultures soon learned the only way they could survive living in the desert was to catch those flash floods. So they dug cisterns all along the ravines, and those cisterns could store enormous amounts of water. If you knew where to look, someone like Moses could find enough water to keep his entire community alive through the dry seasons. Well, we found the answer to our question. The way people lived in the desert is they dug cisterns to collect the water when it did rain, and that's how they had water during the dry seasons of life. You know, Moses and the children of Israel wandering through the wilderness, they didn't pack up every morning and move to a new location. They had to be around the water. So perhaps they would come to a location like this. In fact, we know they did in this location. He sent out the 12 spies, and the children of Israel, the rest of the people, stayed put until the spies came home. And so for a season of time, they were here. That probably took several months. Now, this particular water cistern was dug by the Nabatean, scholars tell us. And that means it was dug something like 2,200 years ago. It's huge. And so when the flash floods came, they just arranged for the water to run very naturally into the cistern, and then for the rest of the year they took the water out. They took the water for themselves, for their animals, and even irrigation for their crops. And so you could actually find a way to live in the wilderness, to live in the desert, if you were just willing to work hard enough to dig a cistern. Boy, there's a life lesson for us. God will provide plenty of blessings in our life, and maybe they come at a certain season in your life. But as you probably know, there are also some dry seasons in life, some hard seasons in our lives. Well, God provides the blessings. Maybe He expects us in those seasons to prepare for the times that aren't going to be so good. God will bless us, but He also expects us to work hard. That's a life lesson that these people took very seriously in the desert, and I hope you and I can take it seriously wherever we live today.